Okay. What's a page layout? A page layout is a very simple concept. Whenever you create an object, you must have seen that by default there's a page layout created for that particular object. I'll show it to you. Give me a minute. Let me log in. Okay, so I think you can see my screen, right? So for every object, like for accounts, if you click on a certain account, you will see that that record opens up in a certain page. See, this is the page. This is called the page layout for account. Got it? Same way we have page layout for contact. You open a contact, it opens up in a certain page, right? So then we have opportunity. So for every object there is a certain page layout. Okay. So this page layout basically determines what all fields are being displayed for that particular record, the positioning of the field, along with the field, what all related list, the child records which are being displayed. Okay, again the order of the related lists, all these things are controlled on the page layout. Okay, so when I say customizing the page layout, by default Salesforce has page layout for all the objects, all standard objects as well as custom objects. So when you create a custom object, you see that there is by default a page layout created for that custom object. Now when I talk about customization of page layout, I definitely mean customizing this page. Okay, for example, I'll give you a simple example. If your company says that this lead source, this should appear at the top right corner here, amount should come below the opportunity name, the positioning of these fields need to be changed. Then how will we do that? It's quite logical. Some fields are important, some fields are not that important. Your customer support team or sales team might want to see some of the fields at the top. If you have 200 fields or if you have 100 fields, you would definitely want to set up the positioning of the fields. Which all fields, the most important 4 or 5 fields should be at the top, and then the ones which are not that important, they should just be at the bottom of the page. So that is something which you might want to do, right? So for that we have this option of the page layout which allows us to set the positioning. Okay, so when I say page layouts, customizing the page layout, what all can we do? Page layout option allows us to set the position of fields on the page. Okay, it also allows you to hide certain fields in case you do not want to display a few fields. The fields are there but you don't want to display, you can hide the fields, remove the fields from the page layout. It allows you to make fields required, so you can make some field required or mandatory using the page layout. So this is something which can be done. I will show you all these things. I'm just listing down what all can be done. It allows you to select the related lists to be displayed on the page. What is a related list? Related list is list of child records. Okay. It allows you to set the order of the related lists. Order of the related list means which related list should appear at appear first, and then which one should come. And set the position of the fields, hide certain fields, make fields required, select the related list that need to be displayed, set the order of the related list. This is something which can be done on the page layout. Yeah, so primarily these are the things. There is one more thing which you can do with the page layout, which we will talk a little later, but let me just list it down here. Display custom buttons. Okay, custom buttons are the buttons that we have created which can have custom actions, user defined actions. Okay, so these custom button part, I think we'll discuss once we are doing the programming side. Okay, so this page layout also allows you to display some custom buttons and stuff like that. So this all can be done using page layout. The positioning of the fields can be defined, certain fields can be hidden, fields can be made required, related lists can be displayed, the order of the related list can be controlled, custom buttons can be displayed. So all these things can be done using a page layout. Okay, so page layout allows you to do all these things. How do we do this? Where do we get the page layout? So as I told you, every object has its own page layouts. You just need to go to setup, and then you will have to go to that particular object for the page layout. If for example, if you are if you have a custom object and you want to access the page layout of that custom object, you should just go to setup, create objects, go to that object, let's say candidate object, and on this page you should scroll down a little and you will get to see page layouts. Okay, now this is something which we never created. By default, Salesforce, the moment you create an object, by default a page layout is created for that object. Okay, you have an option of creating multiple page layouts for an object. I'll talk about that a little later, but by default one page layout is created for the object whenever you create an object, and standard objects have page layouts by default, so there is no problem with the standard objects at all. So now if you click on new here, sorry, we are not clicking on the new page layout right now. We would just work on the existing page layout. So if you click on the edit button for the existing page layout, you will see this screen where you can edit the page layout. Okay, see, this is how your page layout looks. All the fields are on the left hand side, with this right hand side there are no fields. So if you want, you can bring in the phone number here, set the, it's just a drag and drop kind of thing. City, country, okay, let the country be here, let experience come here. Okay, so you set it the way you want, which field you want to see where and all that stuff, right? If you don't want a certain field, like for example, you don't want to see the experience, just come to that field, click on this remove. This field will be removed from the page layout. So this page layout is just an interface, right? So when you remove a field from the page layout, it is actually just being hidden. It's off the stage or off the interface, but it's actually there. I'm not deleting the field. I hope we understand that part, right? So difference between delete and making it invisible. So if you remove it from here, it just becomes invisible. The field is there, value is there, everything is there, right? So this is one more way of controlling the permission or access of the field. Certain fields which are more important, which are more confidential kind of fields which you do not want to show or expose to everyone, you can make those fields hidden from here as well. The other option of doing that was field level security. The other day we were discussing that under profile, right? If you want, you also have an option through page layout to control that thing. You don't want to show certain field, just remove that. Got it? So this is how we can set the position of the fields. You can drag the fields from here, bring them here. Can we have microphones on mute, please? Okay, done that. Fine. So that's first thing. So how do we set the position of the fields? Second, how do we remove the fields, the ones that we don't want? Okay. Then if you want to make a certain field mandatory or required, you can do that from here. Let's say email ID is a field which you want to make required. So just come to this field and click on properties, this last icon, properties, and you can check required. Okay, now this becomes a required field. Alright, so setting the position of the field, hiding the fields, making fields required, three things we have understood. Now let us go into select the related list. So if you have any related lists available for that object, if there are child objects for that, those will be listed here under related lists. Okay, there is just one job application, so you could have had more. Like account has more related list, opportunities, contacts, cases. So if you have more of them, you can remove the related list, or you can just bring the related list. Like approval history is one related list, notes and attachment is one, groups is one. So there are so many related lists. Right now you can always set the order, which one appears at the top, which one should be at at the bottom, and all that stuff, right? So which one comes first and which one comes next and all that stuff. If you do not want some related list to be here, you can just click on this remove button and remove that. So that's it. Alright. Custom button part we will discuss later once we are doing the programming part. Alright. So are we clear on the page layout thing? It's a very simple thing. So you just go to that particular page layout, then you click on edit, and you have the option of doing these 5 things as of now. Custom button thing you do not understand now, but 5 things you can do. Set the position of the fields, hide the fields, make fields required, display or hide the related list, and set the order of the related list. So these are all the things which can be easily done through page layout. Okay. So this is a drag and drop option available for customizing the interface. If you have a requirement which cannot be fulfilled using this page layout thing, then you will need help of some programming, which is Salesforce programming, which we will discuss after a few sessions. So that is something which we start next week. All right. So that is there. So I hope we are clear on this. So if we have a certain requirement which cannot be fulfilled using page layout, so first of all we try to meet a requirement using the page layout thing. So if I have a requirement for everything, I do not start, when I say I mean we all. So for everything we do not start writing program at the first as a first solution. So first of all we start exploring the options which are available, and then we try to kind of fix things using the page layout thing, declarative method, or drag and drop options which are there. And if we see that okay, we are not able to get the right kind of solution using this, then we take the help of programming, the Salesforce programming. Okay, so that is secondary. Primarily we should look into the page layout aspect. Okay, now that's one that's one thing we understand about page layout. Now the second concept that we're going to talk about is multiple page layouts for an object. I told you sometime back, a few minutes back, I told you that we can create more page layouts, which means we can have multiple page layouts for the same object. Now, why do you think we will require multiple page layout for same object? for one single object, why would I need multiple page layouts? What can be the logic behind that? Let's say I'm talking about account object. Why would I need multiple page layouts for account object?
If there is more records, we need to create a new page layout.
No. More records? No.
I mean more fields and more objects.
No. One of you will need to answer this. Think about it and answer me. Why do you think we will require multiple pages for the same object? What can be the logic behind that? And the logic is pretty much hidden in our last two sessions.
The profiles need to see, based on your profile, you might need to see different information. So you can create page layouts based on your profile requirement.
To some extent correct. Anyone who wants to add to that? So we are on the right direction. Anyone who wants to add into that? Sonu? Sonu, you there? Not sure. Okay. So that's correct. Basically, why I need multiple page layouts for the same object is because we have discussed it in our last two sessions that you need to have control on who gets to see what data and all that kind of stuff, right? So you have done those things using profile and stuff, right? At times, I also may have a requirement of having different kind of page layout for different users. Okay. For example, there is a sales team and there is a customer support team. Okay. Sales team also accesses the company information or account information. Customer support team also has access to account information. For sales team, there can be, let's say there are 50 fields, 50 fields in the account object. Out of these 50, 5 fields can be, very important for the sales guys from the sales perspective. Let's say the phone number, website, these kind of things. Okay. There can be 5 fields which are very important for the customer support team. Those can be, something like purchasing history or interest or something like that, right? So the requirement can be different for different teams. Okay. So in that case, it's not a very good idea to have the same kind of page layout for the entire organization or for all the teams. Do you agree to that? So we should not have the same page layout available to everyone. I mean, we may have that kind of thing, but if we have an option of allowing different page layouts for different teams, different departments, different profiles, that's definitely a very good idea. Okay. Some companies may not require this. They can manage things with the same page layout. Like currently, if we look into this candidate page layout, we saw that there was just one page layout available, right? So if there is only one page layout for a certain object, it is by default the page layout for everyone because there is only one. So by default, everyone will get to see this page layout only. Okay. So let's say you have made the changes on this page layout. And you save it. This is very important thing because though this editing page layout is something which is very simple. I mean, there is nothing much to understand there. but this is a concept which we will use very frequently, the page layouts and dealing with things using page layout. So what we see here is, how many page layouts do I have for this object, candidate object? 1, which means no matter who is the user, what is his profile, because there is only one page layout, everyone, be it the CEO or the system administrator, everyone will get to see the same page layout. Okay, there is no difference. If I create one more page layout here, click on new and create one more page layout, or 2-3 more page layouts, then it becomes a matter of assigning the page layout to the profile. Which profile will get to see which page layout. So let me just create one more page layout. This is the candidate layout. I will create one more. So click on new, clone from the existing page layout and give it some name. It's pretty simple. You can clone from an existing page layout, make certain changes in this the way you want. Let's say in this I want the experience to come at the top. Country should come here. Not come here. So let's say this one there. Just click on save. Okay, now how many page layouts I have? I have 2 here. Now in this case, you will have to do the page layout assignment. Which profile gets to see which page layout, right? If there is only one, then this concept was not there. But now because I have multiple page layouts, then I can assign different page layouts to different profiles. Just click on page layout assignment and then you will get to see all the profiles listed, see, and corresponding to each profile you have the page layout name. So you have to decide which profile should get to see which page layout. Then click on edit assignment. For example, for read-only users, you want to change it to layout 2. For marketing users, you want to change to layout 2. So see which profile has which page layout, that can be defined. So this is applicable only if you have multiple page layouts and if you have a requirement. So till the time you do not have this kind of a requirement, don't go and create multiple page layouts. Till the time there is no such requirement, don't create multiple page layouts. Just manage with one. If you have that sort of requirement, then you can always create these page layouts. Okay, so how will you understand? If you see that the requirements are like this, whatever we have talked here, from here you can easily understand. You just have to understand that if people need different positioning of the fields, some team requires some fields at the top and the other team requires some other fields at the top. Ultimately, they are viewing all the fields. So what we did with profile is field level security. We allowed certain fields to them. But what if the company says that okay, 10 people should see 5 fields at the top and the other 10 people should see those 5 fields exactly at the bottom of the page. Fields are allowed, that is through field level security, but positioning of the field is done through the page layout. So in that case, I definitely need 2 different page layouts. Okay, if certain fields are required to be hidden, so that is something which can again be done through the page layout thing. The fields to be made required. Okay, now there is one more concept here which I want to discuss, required fields concept. Okay, what is this required fields concept? Required field concept is there are different ways of making a field required. We understand what's a required field, right? Chandu, what is a required field?
It's a mandatory field for object which we create.
Okay, so if we don't supply the value of the required field, then what happens? If you're creating a record, it will not save. It will throw you an error that required field is missing, right? So now, Naveta, how do we make a field required? What is the option of making a field required?
During creating the fields?
Yes, right. So while creating the field, you make it required. Okay, so that is one option. That's one way of making field required. Now we see that there is another option of making a field required through page layout, right? So is there a difference between making a field required on the page layout and making a field required while creating it? These are two different ways of doing the same thing, right? There's an option of making a field required while you create it. There's an option of making a field required on the page layout. For example, if I am on this particular page layout for candidate, we are talking about this candidate object, right? So in this candidate object, I have a field called email ID. Okay. If I tell you that make this field required, I want this field to be required, what will you do? If I say, please go ahead and make this field required, what will you do? Shalini. No, Shalini is there or not? Shalini, you there? She is there. Yeah, Shalini. So if I ask you to make email field required on this object, what is your solution? How will you do that? Right? So click on edit and make it required, right? Alright. Now we have another way of doing the same thing. I can also go to the page layout, click on edit, and here also we saw that there is an option of making email ID required. So I can actually go here and then click on the properties and make this field required from here. Now think about it and let me know, is there any difference between making a field required from the properties and making a field required on the page layout?
If we keep field required on objects, it
Yes, please go ahead.
Reed, can I take a shot at it?
Yeah, you can.
Okay, so I think if you do it at the field level, when I'm creating it, then whenever I use that field, it would be required. But on the page layout, it would be only required for that page.
Yes.
And
that's absolutely correct, and that is what Anju also says. So that's correct. So when you make a field required while creating the field or from the properties of the field, it becomes universally required. Okay, universally required means it will be always required everywhere. Alright, but the other option is required on page layout. So if you just read these two terminologies, you can understand what is the difference. Universally required is when you, while creating the field, if you mark that required checkbox, it becomes required universally, which means no matter which page layout you are using, who is entering, what is the profile of that particular person, it will be required everywhere. Alright, but with the page layout, when you make a field required on the page layout, it is made required only for that particular page layout. Let's say we have two page layouts, we have two page layouts, layout 1 and layout 2. If I made a field required on layout 1, it becomes required only on first layout. On second layout or layout 2, it still is not required. Correct? So if you have that sort of a requirement where the field needs to be required for some people and it should not be required for some people, then it's a good option to make it required through the page layout. But if you want certain field to be required by everyone, no matter who is entering the data, then it should be universally required. Got it? So, making a field required again has, these two concepts. If you want the field required for everyone, so, when the client comes to you and he gives you a requirement, he says, hey, you know what, make this field required only for a pre-sales team. Okay. And for the management team, if they are entering the data, the field should not be required. If that kind of a requirement you have, then you will have to take the help of page layout, right? But if someone says that no, this field is required, this has to be there, like first name, last name, maybe. So no matter who is entering the data, it is always required. So though that sort of field, in that case, you should make it universally required. So universally required is done while you are creating the field, or after you have created the field, you can always click on the edit button and make it required. We clear on this? Okay. There's one more thing on the same line, universally required and required on page layout. If you have made a field required on a certain page layout, now this is a question, try and understand the question and answer. If you have made a certain field required on the page layout and you are importing the data using data loader, okay, the field has been made required on the page layout, you are doing a bulk upload or you are importing the data using the data loader, will that required field still have effect? Swati says yes.
Yes.
Why yes?
When we are importing the data, if at all that required field which we have specified, if that information is there, it will automatically get updated, right?
If that information is not there,
Then it will be left as blank.
Then it will be left as blank. Will it throw an error that this is a required field?
Yes. Or maybe we can,
Okay, let me repeat the question. I've made a field required on the page layout, okay. Now in that object I am putting data from the data loader, from the backend, okay. And while I am putting this data from the backend, I have not supplied the value for the required field. Like in this case I was talking about email, okay. I have not supplied the email IDs. That field I have left blank. Do you think the records will get imported? Or will it throw error?
Hi, Chit. It won't, because it's on the page layout.
It will not throw error. Yes. So it's pretty simple. See, just break this. I know we are talking about too many things here. We are talking about the page layout, and then we are suddenly talking about the data loader, but it's not that complex. Just keep the logic very simple. Data loader, does it use the page layout to put the data into the system? Does the data loader use a page layout for putting the data into the system? Anyone can answer. No. Anju says no.
No.
Shalini says yeah, because it's the backdoor entry, right? So interface is only meant for this single record entry that we do as individuals, right? So which means the data loader has got nothing to do with the page layout. So if there is a field, which is required on a page layout or not required on a page layout, that does not affect the data loader import anyhow. Got it? So, these kind of tricky questions you will have during your certifications, or you might be asked during interviews and all. So let's keep, this is, one of those. But my thing is that just keep your concepts very, very clear. Just try to break things into small pieces. Just think about it. do you think the data loader uses a page layout? No, the page layout is just a user interface, which is used by someone who is making an individual entry. Like if I go through the interface, but data loader never uses an interface, right? It's a backend entry. So backend entry will not get affected by anything, no matter whether a field is required on a page layout or not required on a page layout, does not affect the data loader upload by any chance. Yes. Now the same question, if you have made a field required universally, I mean if you have made a field universally required, then do you think that will affect the data loader import? In that case, will that data loader import will get affected? Do you think that? Now, the situation is I've made the field required using the field properties, which means I've made the field universally required. Now I am trying to put the data into the system using data loader and I have left the field blank. Now do you think it will throw error? It should throw error. Swati says don't know. Have to do practically. Okay. Let's understand it again. I have made a field universally required. Universally required means, as I told you, no matter what page layout, who is entering, it is always required, right? So if you have made a field required universally, that field's value needs to be supplied for backend entries also, right? So if you don't supply the value of a universally required field in the data loader upload, in that case it will throw error. The records will not get created. No, remaining all fields do not get uploaded. That entire record will not get uploaded. It will throw you an error. Correct? So fields which are universally required, they are always required, whether the data is being entered through a certain page layout or it is being entered from the data loader. But the fields which are made required on the page layout, they are very, very specific to page layout. Okay, the rule is very, very specific to the page layout. So now if someone is using some other page layout, then this, the field which is required on a certain page layout does not affect. If the data is being entered from the data loader kind of a thing, then also this field which is required on the page layout, that does not put any effect. Now please let me know if you understand this, if we have any questions on this. Clear, not clear, confusing, very difficult to understand?
Clear.
Everyone is okay? Anju says yes, clear. Okay, so everyone is fine with this, right? So these are very small concepts, and okay, Navyaka says please explain in brief again. Okay, Navyaka, if you can just tell me exactly where you were not able to understand, I would be able to go through that again. So
Yeah,
till what point you understood?
Data loader.
Yeah, please go ahead. Sorry.
I actually don't know the concept of data loader.
Okay, so data loader is basically doing bulk upload from the backend. Okay, where we create a certain file and then we put all those records into the system from the backend. In that case, we don't use a certain page layout. So let me just do this thing. I think that video is something that you'll need to look into, right? So those videos are already, I am just going to share those with you right after this session. Just go through that, and definitely we can talk about that part. If you still find it difficult to understand, I think you'll just need to understand the concept of data loader, right? I think that was missing, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I was also not able to locate it, but I have found that, and that is ready for your view. So right after this, I'm gonna share it with you. Right? Okay.
Okay.
Now, so these are the concepts of page layout. So though this page layout thing, is something which has very few options of customizing the, layout. We saw that we just have few options. We can, change the position of the fields. We can make certain fields hidden, and we can, make certain fields required. But this is practically used, in a lot of places. So you will be required to use page layouts for a lot of things. So basically, controlling the fields, their visibilities, their, the way the fields are being used by different profiles and different departments. So for those reasons, this page layout is something which is used very, very frequently. All right. And then we do have a concept of record types. We'll talk about that, after a few sessions. A record type is basically a concept where we talk about having different record types of the same, records from the same object. All right. So that is again, one place where we use page layout a lot. So I'll, come to that record type concept a little later, maybe, after a few sessions. Fine. So page layout is something which you will use very frequently. All right. And this is something which is very easy to understand. Whatever we have discussed today, if you understand this much, you should be able to, score at least 10 to 12% of marks in your certification exam without any problem. 10 to 15% questions are going to be from this area itself. All right. Yeah, there will be tricky situations which you will have to understand in the question and answer it properly. But this much concept brings you 10 to 15%. So this is the, one easy zone where you can actually score, good marks. Got that? All right. So that's about the page layout concept. All right. So please let me know if we have any questions on this page layout thing. We're going to talk further on the customization part in our session tomorrow, which will include the customization using some of the logics and creating some rules. So we are going to get further into the customization part. That we will actually do tomorrow. Fine. So today I just want you to go back, work on the page layout, try to create some page layouts, maybe edit some of the page layouts, and try and understand the concept of page layout well. Right. So if you're good, I think that's it for today, and we meet tomorrow, same time, same link. All right. Thank you all. Bye.
Thank you.